What is good, everybody? Nathan Lombardo here with Lambo Media, joined by a very, very special guest across the screen from me, Louisiana Lafayette alum Hayden Cantrelle. Also has his own clothing brand, Five Guy, and YouTube channel. Why not start off with that, Hayden? I want to start off by talking about your YouTube channel, your brand, and basically why you're trying to expand your name and your brand outside of the game of baseball as well.
Yeah, what's up, bro? Thanks for having me on. And yeah, man, I think personal branding is something we all are working on, especially now with the social media age, and everything going on. But
Right.
I really use those platforms, mainly for the purposes of just influence. Really, I know what it's like to be in the shoes of many high school kids and
Right.
guys who are trying to fulfill their, athletic sports dreams and whatnot, So, for me, it's mainly about, giving a perspective, because otherwise I wouldn't do it. If I didn't feel like it helped, the younger generation, I probably wouldn't be doing media as much.
Okay, so would you say the biggest, obviously there's a various number of reasons for you doing it. Would you say the biggest reason is to kind of, give your knowledge and pass your knowledge and experience down to the younger generation so they already know what to expect coming the next levels?
Yeah, I feel like you should be able to influence and help the younger generations through your best skills.
Absolutely.
For me, that happens to be my content creation and my ability to explain things. So as much as I may not like like the social media games, I'm sure you know how it goes, but
Right.
I really enjoy it for the fact of helping others.
I love that. That's inspiring. And when did you really start, getting serious about it? Because, it's going to take a while to get, serious about it. Maybe at the beginning you weren't as serious about it, just kind of playing it day by day, seeing how it goes. At what point did you kind of start taking it seriously as a real brand, as a real YouTube channel that you need to fully commit to, behind baseball?
Well, I made that first video my first summer in the Cape. So,
Okay.
Once I got back to Lafayette and, we started going through all of our workouts and whatnot, I began to see how much, my video was hitting in multiple countries and, places all over the globe. So,
Right.
for me, at that moment, it was when I knew it was like, man, this is really something that could be really special, if I paid enough attention to. So
Absolutely.
that's probably when I began to start, writing out scripts and, actually practicing editing and whatnot, and, really trying to polish the craft.
Yeah, it's tough. It's definitely a commitment. I know the grind you're going through, especially on top of being a professional athlete on the baseball side of things. But you mentioned Louisiana Lafayette, and that's when you kind of really got into it. I want to talk about your career a little bit at Louisiana Lafayette. What was that whole experience like playing at a big school like Louisiana?
Man, it was great, but for me, this was the school I was the most familiar with.
Right.
Across the nation, some may remember us as the #1 hitting team in 2014, or most of us don't know of us at all, But for me, I had a lot of pride going to school there,
Mm-hmm.
and I really felt that I really grew incrementally from, my freshman year to that freshman summer, from that summer to the next fall, and then each transition I made between semesters was just it was way better than the year before that, and that had to do a lot about the culture that we had,
Right.
about showing up to work, and I really molded into a man there, and I really learned how to fail. You know what I'm saying? There's baseball players are good. Everybody's good until they hit that wall.
Right.
And then at that point, it is a choice. And so for me, college really helped me be able to become a man about failure and grow through that.
Why Louisiana Lafayette? You grew up there. Was location the biggest reason for committing to Louisiana Lafayette rather than any other colleges that were possibly showing interest in you?
Well, my college decision was strictly based on what was going to get me to the major leagues the fastest. So
Awesome.
at UL, they had a shortstop by the name of Blake Trahan.
Mhm.
He had made it to the show actually a few years back, and he was one of my friends. He was one of my mentors, and so I saw myself to be able to go through that possibility. I had offers to go other places like LSU and a bunch of schools. All were asking me to play shortstop, but you looked and UL was going to be the best opportunity for me to represent my community and be able to play. Because that was really important for me. Being able to go to college and play. I think a lot of people, they get overly obsessive with the big time schools,
right?
And then many of them go to school there and get cut. So, for me, I'm not saying going to school here was like a safe bet, but my dad played for Coach Robe. Their coaches had seen me a lot, here in Lafayette.
Right.
So I felt really comfortable making the decision to come to school here, and we kind of started there.
That kind of leads me to wanting to talk to you about this. I've talked to a few guys about this in the past, a few guys that have been played at various levels at the college level. What are your thoughts, and what do you have to say to the younger kids about taking the JUCO route? Because a lot of high school kids are opposed to taking that route, and like you mentioned, they all want to go to the big SEC, ACC schools. What are your thoughts on kids and them wanting to go D1 rather than JUCO and being opposed to that JUCO route?
I understand the idea of being opposed to the JUCO route, because many people I've played with and they've talked about how much JUCO has been a grind. But what I know to be true is that whenever I show up on campus and I'm we got a new group of guys every year, you got your JUCO guys, you got your freshmen.
Right.
Your JUCO guys are your toughest guys on the diamond.
Yeah.
Those guys learn a lot in JUCO. You learn how to compete. You learn how to have nothing because you're a JUCO player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an unquantifiable amount of confidence that comes with that. Those dudes come in hungry, and I'd say I thought about the JUCO route a little bit. I was presented a really good 4-year opportunity, but had I not been offered a great 4-year opportunity, I may have went JUCO, because some people don't understand is those who thrive in JUCO, and a lot of guys talk about their coaches and being bad dudes and whatnot, but a lot of times if you get in a good JUCO program and you play really well, you can pick what school you want to play for. So I'd always say it's personal to each person, but I'd always remain open to the idea.
Yeah, most definitely. And I want to talk about your 2019 season at Louisiana Lafayette in particular. That was your career high at Louisiana as far as batting average goes, with a .309 batting average. Was there anything different about that 2019 season on the offensive side, on the offensive approach, compared to any other seasons while you were, at Louisiana Lafayette?
No, because I think historically, if you go look at my numbers, they all trended the same.
Yeah.
I think overall through the first 20 games, I think I hit below 200 over the course of my entire college career. But it's usually Sky, no ma'am. Sorry, my dog.
Very good.
But yeah, over the course of the career, always right when conference started is when I started to play really well, and so that's actually the exact point that we finished on. So there wasn't really a lack of a middle approach. I would say, I understood that my game was going to take over at some point, but it's very important you stay consistent. For me, I was making sure that I wasn't changing what I did, even though I was struggling. Because you get into worse slumps whenever you keep trying to over adjust, so I was just waiting it out. I understood how the game goes and how my game is, but unfortunately the season ended there, and but I'd say whenever you get going, obviously you get the mojo, and I just never quite got to the mojo. So in simpler terms, I didn't get to 2019's flow, but I felt like it was on the way.
Right, and I love how you hit on the mental side of things, and I kind of want to stick on the mental side of things about talking about this topic. You were a top 4 player in the state of Louisiana as a whole coming out of high school, according to Perfect Game. At that time, coming out of high school and then transitioning to a big school like Louisiana Lafayette, did you feel pressure, given the fact that you were ranked that high? Did you feel pressure to perform to a certain level at Louisiana Lafayette?
No, I didn't. My first day of school, Coach Robichaud told me that I was the shortstop and that it was going to be my job to earn it every day or not. So I was fortunate to have an opportunity to be able to play every day. So confidence-wise, you'll learn, once guys get to college, everything that's high school related, kind of goes out the door.
Mm-hmm.
The guys who bring that with them on the campus usually get roasted. So, but I felt the only pressure I felt was being a part of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want to be the weak chain in the armor. So, my whole fall was built around just trying to, make sure that I was meshing well with the guys and I fit in. And I thought, I did a good job of that. And, I had a good year and I held my own, if not thrived, in our conference.
Love that, Hayden. That's awesome how you transitioned smoothly, and good for you. I want to talk a little bit about the draft day experience. What was that whole day like? Getting your name called by the Milwaukee Brewers. How did you initially find out that they indeed did call your name?
That's very cool. Draft day is very intense. I've been a part of 2 draft days.
Yeah.
But this year's, or I guess last year's draft day was amazing because I woke up with my friends at the apartment and we had really good vibes. It was really cool. But we had a little party set up at my parents' house, and so I woke up and me and my buddies went to go lift and we would go hang out around the pool. And then we all made the trip over to my parents' house, and then I had all my family there, all my closest friends, and it was really heart-wrenching because this draft was unlike any other draft. They had guys getting lowballed and everything because money was tight. So it was very nerve-wracking. For me, I was expecting to go right around the 3rd, and my phone didn't even ring during the 3rd round. So obviously, I needed to know too that they were calling my agent and not me. But eventually, we had a pick set up. Me and my agent, we had a deal very, very late in the last round. And then, I'd already told my family, what team it was. Just my dad. I didn't tell anybody else. And then, so we're just watching the TV. And then the Mets, I think it was the Mets were picking right before the Brewers. And then my agent calls me and he says, "Hey man, I just want to let you know that just put your foot down or put your phone down. I got you with the next pick." And I was like, all right, so put my phone down. And at that point, everyone had been putting their phone up for every pick for like 3 rounds.
Okay.
And that's crazy.
Right.
When you think about it. And I'm just sitting there and I know, I'm like, guys, you can put them down.
Yeah, for real.
At this point, I was like, guys, you can pick your phones out, whatever.
Yeah.
And they picked me in. It was such a cool moment. It's so much emotion, that's built up over 22 years over one, moment, So all of those make their way out, one way or fashion. And, we all hung out and we had a little champagne and stuff. So it was a good time, man. But the crazy part is you go back to bed that same night and you're still thinking about what you got to do tomorrow morning. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, it was a awesome moment and very grateful for it. But, you got to know the goal's not done yet.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, Hayden, congrats on that goal. I want to transition to almost wrapping up this interview into your goals heading into this 2021 season and, spring training in particular, since that's sooner. Actually, before we get into that question, have you heard anything about spring training? Because I've talked to and when you're supposed to report, because I talked to Lucas Gilbreth, he's with the 40-man roster for the Colorado Rockies, and he said he doesn't know anything yet about when he's supposed to report. And that was at least, earlier this week or last week when I was with him. Have you heard anything about when you're supposed to report with the Brewers?
I'm not sure. I have not been told anything by the Brewers at this point.
Crazy.
I have heard that other organizations have said big league spring training was going to start on time.
Right.
And that they were going to start minor leaguers like a month after.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, how that relates to our organization, but
right.
I'm keeping my fingers crossed that I can go to work as soon as possible. So.
Mm-hmm. So what are your biggest goals heading into spring training and then eventually the regular season in minor league baseball?
my goal for spring training is really to just do what I did at camp. I wanted to show up every day, and I wanted to give the best intent, and I want to have the best energy throughout the course of camp. So typically, if I follow that plan, my instincts is what's going to take over during the actual catch, throw, hit part of the baseball. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
that's going to be my intent for spring training, and then but obviously the goal is to grow my body as well. If I plan on playing 140 games this year, that's typically just playing a minor league season. So, I got to make sure I can play every one of them. So that's really big about, approaching spring training. And then for the entirety of the 2021 season, I want to prove that, I'm ready for the big league roster. I've been training this whole time, and, it's crazy to say after you had numbers like I did in 2020, but
Yeah.
with the work we've really put in behind the scenes, I really think I'm getting closer. Getting closer today.
Good, Hayden. It's a grind. I look forward to watching you in spring training and then in the regular season as well. Hopefully, normal regular season for minor league baseball. But I want to wrap up this interview with your interview nomination, Hayden. So, who's going to be that guy?
You should call my boy Tremaine Spears.
Okay.
He's my best friend. He's at Southern. He's got really good perspective, and
Awesome.
he may not be as he's not that smart, so I'm not going to give him too much. No, I'm playing.
All right, Tremaine, I look forward to speaking to you. Hayden, I really appreciate you making this interview happen. I love getting your perspective on everything and talking to you about, everything bigger than baseball and the mental side of things as well. So, Hayden, that wraps up everything for this interview, and best of luck in the future.
Thanks, bro. Appreciate it.